Welcome back to another beginner-friendly acrylic painting. Today we're going to do some roses that would be perfect for Valentine's Day. So let's get started. We're going to use the same three colors we always use: phthalo blue, quin magenta, benzimidazzolone yellow, and titanium white. We'll start with our background. We're going to start at the top up here with a little bit of yellow. We'll put in that yellow. Grab some titanium white, make it a nice creamy yellow. Just put that down liberally. It doesn't have to be absolutely flat. It can have texture if you like, but a nice creamy yellow. About 2/3 of the way down. Now I'm going to put a teal color here for the table. And so because my brush already has a little yellow in it, just had a little bit too much water. So I'm going to wipe the water off. Now I'm going to take my titanium white, put a tiny bit of phthalo blue into it, pick up a tiny bit of that yellow, just to warm it up a little bit. We don't want it to go green, but we do want a kind of a nice teal. There we go, that's pretty good. Let's make it a little bit lighter. There we go. So that's going to be our table that the vase of flowers is going to sit on. I think I want just a tiny bit more phthalo in that. Phthalo can be so overpowering. Just be careful with that phthalo blue. Tiny bit more yellow, get it back over there to that teal color. There we go. Make sure your brush is loaded really well so you can get a nice line for that table. You can always turn your canvas to the side if it makes it a little easier to make a straight line. There we go. And it doesn't have to be absolutely 100% straight. Okay, you know what's going to happen next. We are going to take a couple of minutes to dry this so that we can put it in our vase and our flowers. So put it in front of a cool hair dryer or a cool fan for a few minutes, and then come back. We'll do the vase and the flowers. Okay, we're back. We're going to put our vase and our flowers in now. But first what we need to do is put some decoration on our tablecloth so that our vase can sit down on top of it. Now just to give us a spot for our vase, we're going to draw that in. Our vase is going to be purple. So we're going to just draw. You could do it with a pencil or a paint pen. It doesn't really matter, but it's really just kind of a rectangle. So we're going to start right here like that and come down. There, that just gives us the place where our vase is going to land. And even if that line kind of wobbled, that's okay. Don't worry about that. Now we've got a small square brush and we're going to do some stripes on our tablecloth. So let's start with a yellow. We're going to make a green, put a little phthalo blue into that. Let's make that quite a bit lighter. There we go. Wipe my brush. Now I'm going to load my brush with that green, and I have a nice flat brush, so it's going to make nice green stripes on our tablecloth. And the reason we do this before we paint the vase, of course, is so that if one of our stripes happens to land really close to the tablecloth, to the vase, then of course we can paint right over it when we paint the vase. So it's not a bad idea to just pull one of those stripes right down like that, and then your vase is going to come right over it. Let's have a couple more. Don't worry if they aren't perfectly spaced or if they are a little wonky, the lines aren't perfectly straight. Don't worry about that. That's one of the beauties of making something handmade. It's not done on a computer, it's done by hand, and it has a great look to it. It looks like it was done by hand. Okay, now let's paint in our vase. Right here on the edge where we have that green, we might get a little bit of a bleed from that green, so just be careful with that. And it's best to use a flat brush to do that vase so that you can get nice square edges. Let's make a nice purple for our vase. A little bit of Quin Magenta, a little bit of Phthalo Blue gives me a dark purple. I should actually, let's do it down here. So I have room to mix that titanium white because we're going to need quite a bit of it. So here we go. That's about the color we want. Okay, so my brush is loaded. It's got white on it. It's got purple on it. So when I put it down, it might be a mixture of those two colors. That is fine. Don't worry about that. I'm going to attempt to make a straight line, but if it doesn't come out exactly straight, it's not going to hurt my feelings too much. You can look at plenty of artists online that paint flowers and vases. Things aren't always straight and perfect. They don't have to be. Sometimes it's a lot more interesting if they're not straight and perfect. I'm going to make this side a little bit lighter. Just covering up that paint line that I put down with the paint pen. Covering that. Use the edge of my brush. Okay, we're in pretty good shape. Now I like to come back on the vase and do a little playing around with the light and dark. So I'm picking up some titanium white here. Picking up a little titanium white just to kind of give it a little bit of form. We're not really trying to paint a three-dimensional object, but just to give it a little something, you know, a little bit of titanium white there. Now, when you do this titanium white on top like this, try not to make too much texture because we're going to come back later with a paint pen and draw a little heart there. So make sure you don't leave too much texture. Now I'm picking up a little bit of this dark over here. I'm just going to lay it down like this, wipe my brush, and then come back and just really softly blend it in. Wipe my brush. This just gives us a little bit of definition. Don't worry too much about it. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just a little bit of definition. Have fun with it. There we go. Okay, now let's get to the fun part. Let's paint those roses. I am going to put my brush in the water and I'm going to get my number 6. I'm going to use my number 6 for the roses, and we are going to mix up a couple of different colors using that Quin Magenta. Now I don't want to pick up any of this purple, so I'm just going to take a paper towel and wipe that away, just so I don't pick any of that up in my magenta. And in your description is this great silicone pad that I use as a palette. You can see right here, it's transparent. It is the best thing going. So check that out in the description if you want to use that like I do. Okay, now let's start off with our Quin Magenta. I've got my number 6. Let's start off with our Quin Magenta. Let's get a nice dark going. We're just going to use Quin Magenta straight out of the bottle. And we're going to start our roses. So we'll have the dark first, and then we'll come back and build on that. Just making sort of semicircles, really. Just some semicircles. Let's have one right here. And I think that should probably do it. Okay, now the next layer is going to be a little bit lighter. Quin Magenta, little tiny bit of titanium white, not too much. I'm going to do this in stages. So put down the next layer of color. And you're still leaving some air in there. That next layer of color, you're going to put it around the ones that you have there already. And we're just making kind of hash marks, half moon shapes, if you will. Let's call them half moon shapes. Little white. And you can see I've got a fair amount of my yellow background still showing. So we're going to get there. We'll just keep building our flowers in these sort of, they're almost like commas, these shapes, right? Now let's go a little lighter still, right into that mixture I just made. We'll go a little bit lighter, start to fill in that yellow. Let's go a little tiny bit lighter. Start to fill in that yellow. Eventually, you're going to have all of the yellow will be gone. We've got a couple more colors to do first, but eventually that yellow will be gone. Just keep building with those really pretty kind of comma shape. A comma, a half moon, call it what you will. Okay, keep going. I'm going to wipe my brush now. And now I'm going to go almost completely white. I've got a little tiny bit of pink on my brush. Really, really light, really light. Come back in. Start to fill in those yellow spots that are still there. Just gently lay that white, almost white, down on top. Lay it down gently. Don't push too hard, or you will pick up the color underneath. Okay, now we're going to go back to our dark, just Quin Magenta, and if you have any remaining areas that are yellow, fill them in. And also think about the center of your flowers. Put a little dark in the center. Just keep building and filling in that yellow. And pretty soon you're going to have some really nice looking flowers. Kind of abstract roses. Now I see a couple places. I'm going to go back to my lighter color, grab a couple of places here that I just want to touch up. A little bit dark here. A couple of places where my yellow was showing through. Now we can go back and kind of define these a little bit. If you feel like you need to, you can pull those colors around. They should still be wet. We'll just define those a little bit. This one needs a center right here. It didn't have much of a center. Now we've got a really nice bouquet of abstract roses. I'm going to go back with my lighter pink now and just get a couple of these outer petals. There. Don't fuss too much with it. Okay, now the final touch for our Valentine's bouquet of roses. I'm going to just fix this. I saw some little something there that needed to be fixed. Okay, the final thing for our Valentine's bouquet of roses, let's put a little heart on our vase. So I've got my paint pen in pink. You could choose whatever color you like. And I'm just going to put a little heart right here. Now, I say this every time we use the paint pens. Sometimes they are not opaque enough, and so you will have to go over them twice. So I'm going to fill this heart in, let it dry, and come back and paint it again, because this particular color is not opaque enough for my vase. But that is our lovely bouquet of roses. That didn't take us very long at all. Have fun with that, okay? And that makes a great Valentine's gift. Thank you so much for joining me in this beginner-friendly Valentine's themed painting. And I hope you'll hit that subscription button and that notification bell. And remember what I always say, keep painting.